Smart Fortwo is a known quantity. It's the expensive novelty you often see strewn haphazardly on snippets of unclaimed urban streetscape, especially in Europe. It survives because of Daimler stubbornness. After 16 years, the automaker has yet to boast of a smart profit, and burbles along at about 100,000 global sales per year, partly because it's the only thing of its kind. The new Forfour arrives here next year as a 2016 model. The Forfour is a different story. You might not have heard of the Fords or Forfour before. It's the Fortwo's big brother, born of the same alliance with Renault. It shares its skeleton with the Renault Twingo, its 5-speed stick and 6-speed dual-clutch gearboxes with the Twingo, its 2 3-cylinder engines with the Twingo. It's even built by Renault in Slovenia. Rolling the dice. For all its research, Smart has no genuine idea how many of these will sell. It could produce a sales boom, giving Forfour owners with kids somewhere more practical to go. It could just as easily be a bust, because that's what happened the last time the brand made a Forfour. Yes, Smart has been down this road before, with a rebodied Mitsubishi Colt built in the Netherlands and launched in 2004 to such overwhelming apathy that it was killed after just 2 years. But unlike the previous and very cynical Forfour, this one has some brand-typical stuff in it, like rear drive, the same pair of 3-hole engines sitting in the back, the same suspension, and the same gearboxes as the new Forfour. It loses some Forfour stuff, though, with the dent-resistant plastic door skins giving way to old-school, Renault-friendly pressed sheets metal. It's also in the odd position of being considerably longer 31.5 inches than the old Forfour, at 137.6 inches, yet able to turn a tighter circle. That tight, roughly 28-foot turning circle is just one city trick the Forfour has to offer. Others include rear doors that open at 85 degrees and a quirky folding action on the rear seats that give it a surprisingly useful luggage area. But it will almost certainly never come to the US. Here's where it gets tricky. In Germany, this car is only €660, approximately $820 more expensive than the Forfour. Value, right? Wrong. The Smart Fortwo is expensive, but it also has its segment almost to itself. Adding 2 doors to it for a minor markup doesn't make it a bigger, cheaper Smart. It makes it yet another of dozens of micro players in Europe, and one that's a lesser car than cheaper offerings from high-end the i10 and Skoda the Citigo, to name just 2. Which brings us to America, where cars like the i10 and the Citigo have zero chance of ever being sold, but that doesn't mean the Forfour would be without competitors here, namely its own brother. The Forfour and the Scion IQ are the only U.S. market cars small enough to be in the same segment as the Forfour. Even the Chevy Spark is 7 inches longer, the Ford Fiesta 22 inches longer. Its potential for cannibalizing Smart's own sales, such as they are, is the reason the Forfour is not coming here. Should we want this Smart? But is that a shame or not? In the US context, it just might be. Most urban parking areas in the States aren't so small that there's a desperate need for the Forfour, so the extra practicality of the Forfour makes sense. It's also a better car. The view from the front seats is identical to the Forfour's, down to the 6.5-inch multimedia touchscreen and the Qt vents. LED daytime running lights are standard, as a cruise control, a speed limiter, power windows, and active seatbelt tensioners. There is an available multifunction steering wheel, a 3.5-inch TFT screen in the instrument cluster, a JBL sound system with a 240-watt amplifier, and an app that allows a smartphone to be connected directly to the car's systems. But the commonalities belie the fact that this is a much more mature package on the road. The Forfour carries a claimed 88 additional pounds of sound deadening than the Renault on which it is based, putting the curb weight somewhere around 2,300 pounds, but the car performs miracles when traversing broken roads. The 5-door Smart rides very well for a car this size, partly because of the tall sidewall tires and partly because the extra wheelbase versus the Forfour reduces the pitching that dogs that model under braking. It also handles with a lot more civility. Even though its narrow tires mean it will never cut hot laps, it's composed and assured and easy to wield. The stability control is an infrequent presence, and the noise levels from the 3-cylinder turbo engine are low, too. Even the gutless 1.0-litre 3-cylinder is quieter and feels better sorted here, displaying less of a tendency to surge in the heavier car. But it's not fast. The sprint to 62 miles per hour takes more than a second longer than it does in the Forfour version with a commensurate engine. The 3-cylinder, available in 70 horsepower 1.0-litre naturally aspirated and 89 horsepower 0.9-litre turbocharged variations, is also not technically sophisticated. Consider that the Smart's engines are port-injected in a world where Ford is now selling a high-tech direct-injected Turbo 3. As for the Forfour's additional accommodations, it's easy to get in and out of the back seats. Adults can sit back there for short trips with no significant complaints, and, as we mentioned, the rear seats now mean that families might actually stop into a Smart dealer. One demerit: the rear cargo room is slightly compromised versus the Fortwo's, as you lose 2.6 cubic feet of space with the rear seats in their locked and upright positions. So it's a better Smart. We're as unsure as its maker whether the Forfour will translate to sales success, and we'll get by just fine without it on our shores, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't have liked to see how the US would have factored into the equation.